And it really comes from, like I said, the collaboration and the support, and then the clarity of where you want this to go. Because marketing is my thing. I'm just a promo hoe from a long time ago, I mean, I really do love to help promote.
All the one hook liners. I love it. So again, Lonnee Rey,
series.
This has been someone that we've got our eye on you for a while now. Because again, your content, the stuff you put out there, it's always got that little zing. There's always something in it that's got that little hook. So when James and I are scrolling through, when we're fishing through LinkedIn, looking for fantastic people, you're one that we came across a while ago. I'm really happy to have you here. I'm glad that we thought, we didn't know that we were hitting Thanksgiving, but it looks like we got a few people that are jumping in here, and it looks like you've brought some of your people with us as well. So everyone out there, I hope you guys are having an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us. Lonnee, when you build these books, when you put all this together, tell us some of the steps. What's the process? You do the writing, you take it all together, then what?
Well, first of all, the hardest thing for people is they get stuck getting started. And so what in the workshop, the biggest help I can be is what I call springboard phrases, or ways to start your story that are unusual, or a hook, because that's how I like my authors to, I want you to stand out with your brand out, but I also want it to be emotional. And so, well, yeah, there it is again, right? Zing! It's all about the who that is you behind the what that you do, and then your special sauce. And so it really is about finding their personality. And I'll run them through some exercises, like write 5 rave reviews about your book. What do you want people to say about you? That's a great way to start a book.
Absolutely.
Because then you know what it is that you want to get out of it. And a lot of times they don't know. They just know they got something to say and they don't know how to say it. So I find, as a wordsmith, I help them with paintbrush words that make their stories come to life and have a lot of color and a message. It's always about the message. It's always about the message. The story can be whatever it is. It's really, what is it that you want to convey message wise to them, to your listeners, to a podcaster, right?
Right.
Listeners.
Yeah.
But readers,
that's amazing. Like, I find, like, especially with mental health and people that have those stories, it really links people together once they start sharing stories, and it also gets stuff off their chest. It eases their mind, and once they start telling their story, it gets easier. But there's that moment, you're in a room full of strangers that you don't know, and to have that, like, that detailed, enjoyable story, that deep moment that you're trying to share, you have to be able to trust the people in the room. So how do you make it so these strangers in the room trust each other enough? Like, I used to do drama all the time, and part of the things holding us back were that we didn't trust each other. So we wouldn't go do those reaches. We wouldn't go as far as we could go. We wouldn't, like, try out those scary characters. And I imagine storytelling would be the same. I get the one-liners and stuff like that would start it, but you still would hold back a little bit. So how do you break that so that everyone in the room trusts each other enough that you can really tell those stories and get in deep?
That's a really great question. And I've taken acting classes and done some theater and television, film, whatever. And I could tell you that, those processes are deeper and more revealing than therapy. Like, I think acting classes are definitely deeper.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know if bringing that to it, I don't put them through any kind of exercises per se. I think it's really just, I have them come prepared. So they're not as nervous. Like, every bio starts out with their name is such and such and says on a mission. So I make sure I have those already. So I can already pick them up if they're like, oh, I don't know what to say. I'm like, yeah, but you're on a mission to thus, but it hasn't happened.
Okay.
It really hasn't.
Yeah.
I say, well, what's your message and who's it for? And they might grapple with it. Well, then let's just hear your story. And everybody just listens. It's just that Friday night is just to get to know each other.
Right.
But I have to say, there were a couple times on these authors, I love them so much. They're why I do this. They're just that their lives are changed. I don't want to cry so early in the show. It is really, really fun.
Well, we
usually save it till later, until James makes me cry. So it's if it's now, it's now. But
I got to tell you, James, trying to isolate why that is, I'm not sure, because
Right.
a couple of them on lives have said, I got to be honest with you, Lonnee. I went home that night and I was like, I got nothing in common with these people. I don't know how this is going
Right.
to work out.
right.
And they come back on Saturday, and by an hour or two into Saturday, they're just like so comfortable. They
Right.
link arms for a long time, because after a book is published, then the real work gets started,
Right.
because
Right.
marketing's everything and everything's marketing. And so it really, and then there's people, first time writers, they're nervous. They have no idea what's after publishing, and that's okay. That's my job. My job is to take all that fear away from them about what happens after they get their pen on the paper. And then they get to know each other and hear each other's real soft sides. And that just, it fosters an environment where they feel comfortable. And
Right.
me, right? There isn't much I haven't done. I didn't have a career that involved blood. Okay. So there's never been blood in anything I've ever done. I can't. But everything, I've done a lot of things. And so I think that,
Sorry.
But you weren't a country singer.
That wasn't a
You weren't a
singer.
country
That's it.
singer.
Those are two
We
things
have
I haven't
worked
done.
that out originally in the back screen here before we got started. There was a misunderstanding a very long period of time. And James, I'm going to tell the story, James. Now
You
you're
do it.
stuck.
Do it.
So James, when he first came across Miss Lonnee Rey, for those of you that are on LinkedIn, she has this fantastic image. She's got this beautiful cowboy hat, a fantastic view of her. And James is like, wow, she's a country singer. She has to be, because I just happened to see her on LinkedIn, and of course she has a cowboy hat on. As Canadians, that means you sing country music. So he comes on
And
today and he's like,
Lonnee
you know what I
Rey.
did?
How do
I
you be
started
called
digging into
Lonnee Rey
you.
and you're not a country singer? I'm telling you right now, darling.
She's
you
done
got
a
the
lot of
name
things.
for
I have.
country singer. She's done a lot of things, but not singing or bleeding.
No,
I'm just telling you right now,
bleeding.
there's been no singing or bleeding.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. James makes a lot of mistakes. And in this case, I pitched Pat and went, hey, man, I think I found a country singer. And he's like, that's great. Let's get her. Anyway, she's not. She's a beautiful publisher who's done a lot of work. So, okay, getting back. So we, like Pat said, we have a friend called Lisa Browning that does collaborations. And what she does is she picks a topic and people write about it. So she's done some really deep conversations like sexual abuse and dealing with conflict. And a lot of her books are about rising above, seeing the other side and really focusing on that side. Do you have a concept for your books going into the writing weekend? Or do you develop together? Or how does that whole system work? Because you can have a book, I guess, your chicken soup from the soul there is a mixture of different things, but it's always better if they're linked. What do you do for that?
Well, I actually have the same question. They answer the same question, every one of them. And that is, over the last 5 years, what significant incident did you experience? And how were you rattled awake? What shook you? And they're not
Where
all.
does that question come from?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Sorry. So that question there is really like a punch in the face type question, right? So yeah, where does that come from?
Kind of person. Straight line, zip line to the finish line. Let's get to the bottom line. Let's sanctify it. Let's make sure we just wrap this up and get your point across. That's how it goes. Quick. Hey, I'm very. Why not? Why mess around? So that came from. I was having a chat with a friend, and so I broke my wrist a few months ago, and so I'm a one-handed typer right now, and I might be for a little bit longer. So so that changed me being a ghostwriter, which I've got a number of books that I've ghostwritten, and I had to switch gears. And I was talking to a friend, and I said, because I was talking about issues, I go into rabbit holes, big ones, deep ones, far, wide, whatever you want to talk about. I probably could, as far as that goes, like what's really going on that's not on the lamestream media. Okay, just saying.
Don't get Pat started. Please don't.
I'm there.
I do not have enough tinfoil hats to talk with Pat.
Okay, so green room later, me and you, because
yes.
Honestly, okay, so since you said that, thank you. The real reason is because I was running into seeing a lot of issues, and things that are very alarming. And, like, holy crap, what are they doing to our food? How did 2,000 food plants burn down and nobody knows about it around
Yep.
me? And that's very important that people know those aren't coming back.
Right.
And they
Mhm.
need to, and because I'm super passionate about solutions, I discovered a muscle testing way, and you just kind of use 2 fingers, and is this good for me or is this bad for me? And the way your fingers land will tell you if it's a yes or a no. So then you'll know if your diced ham is going to spark up in the microwave because it's got metal in it. Hello, that happens. So that issues are things that's what I want to publish. Well, what I found, and I did, 2 chapters are all about food,
Okay.
and really important. People really need to know about these things.
Mhm.
But the people that are coming to this, they're soft and they've had a transformation in their life. They've left an abusive relationship, or started a business because their job fell out. There's a lot of different reasons why people come to this Rattled Awake moment.
Yeah.
And then want to share that perspective shift, because it's all about shifting into higher gear.
Right.
And take it, like I said, the thread that binds them all together, the one that I pull out, I go, we all have this in common. We've all been shake, rattled, and rolled. So
Mhm.
what's your shook moment? And let's talk about it. I
Amazing.
do hope someday, just as a little sidebar, I actually was around Mark and Jack when Chicken Soup first took off.
No way.
Oh,
Yeah, I used to work with
wow.
Mark a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. Here's a slice of history. I walked into the office, and the first one had finally gotten published, and it was rough. 144 publishers declined them. That was the time, before self-publishing was a
Wow.
thing.
Yeah.
And I went in, and on the wall are 72 yellow Post-it notes. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And Mark looks at me like it's nothing. And he goes, those are our next titles. And I said, what? You barely
72.
got one done, 72 more. And he said, no, we did research and we know that people will spend a fortune on their pets. So we're going to do Chicken Soup for the Pet Lover's Soul. And we know that teenagers and women readers. And so he just started laying out all the different titles based
Yeah.
Yeah.
on research, knowing that women are the book buyers.
Yes.
We were in the same orbit for years. And so
Wow.
I know it was a privilege. It was honestly, I got lucky that it was on my blueprint. My
Yes.
soul wanted to come
Yeah.
in and play with these guys. I don't know, like, how
Right.
are you going to put it? It
Yep.
was an amazing experience. And it all started because Mark was called into my talk show, The Big Yes. And I was heavy back then. I was like, I want answers and I want them now. How did you figure out what you want to do with your life?
Right.
I was
Yeah, just the light stuff.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
such a heavy. Thank God I had a funny co-host. Glenn was a riot. And when I finally met Mark in person, I said, I don't know if you'll remember me, but you're on my show. And I started to say my name, and he finished it. He said, yeah, I
Wow.
remember your I know. That's what
That's
I
pretty
said.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Mhm.
said. So yeah, that started the curiosity about publishing, and but I fell more into broadcasting,
Okay.
film and television and radio, and terrestrial radio, that is. And
Yeah.
I had I had a show before podcast was a word, and I was a talk show host on KSEXradio.com, the world's first uncensored adult talk radio station on the web. And
Nice.
my co-host was Big Dick, and he was. He was.
Of course it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was awful.
Was that personality or?
Oh yeah, 10-year-old sense of humor doing armpit farts. I swear, he was awful. But I love interviewing, and I
Yeah.
figure you're going to ask people that are smarter than you. How do you do it?
Right.
So I can stop, falling in these potholes and pitfalls and
Mhm.
stuff. And yeah, that was an interesting job. That was my first paid job as a broadcaster.
That's
And I
pretty
got to
cool.
meet Larry Flynn at the Adult Industry Awards. At
Before or
LA
after the
Car Museum.
wheelchair?
He was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite
Very
the
cool.
night. And interviewed all kinds of people in the industry, because it was 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's a lot of content to keep coming up with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a lot of
It's
content. And especially
it's very difficult sometimes to like try and make your show different, because you're kind of asking the same questions, because you're trying to the same questions are required to dig deep into a guest. But you mentioned a whole bunch of wonderful things. What we were talking about before, Rattled Awake. You
Yeah.
call it Rattled Awake. I call it Point of Impact. And over the last few years, especially with COVID and stuff like that, a lot of people had points of impact, whether it was financial, mental, not feeling that their lives, not feeling that, sorry, Mark, Zen Sandwich
I
always
just saw it.
derails me.
Yeah, of course you
Always
did,
derails
man.
me.
Yeah.
Every show, I love him. I think he's
I love
hilarious.
Mark.
I
I
could
love
watch
it.
that guy every day. He's so funny.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
but during all that
Well,
time,
are you
whether
a
it was
little stuck
mental,
for words now, pal? Like,
nope,
did we throw you for a little loop when we brought up sex and
that's
Ron
right. It's
Jeremy?
thrown me. It's been a long time, so
I
I'm a little
know.
thrown.
Okay.
But no, so since the point of impacts have happened, uh, that's what you're talking about,
That's
Rattled
what she
Awake.
said.
And are you looking for the transference from? So for me, my point of impact was that I wanted to see my grandkids. My parents died when I was younger, and they never got to see their grandkids. That was one of my point of impacts. And I rose above by losing weight, and I started like working on myself and making myself better. Now, are you pointing to your stories mostly pointing to the beginning of that, or are you pointing to the end, or are you running through the whole story with your guests?
It really is. Those are great questions. Sometimes your backstory sets up the rattled awake moment.
Hmm.
Kind of like the chapter I just did. It set up the message that I had that I wanted to convey. Um, Sometimes, like I said, with the food thing, it's very left brain. It's very much a research, but
Yeah.
I made it personal.
Interesting. Okay.
Like like my first story, my first one was called The Pressure Cooker, and that's because, look, I have a culinary arts degree. I told my father I wanted to go to film school. He's like, "You will finish, and you always have work." And I said, "Yeah, it is work. Have you ever stood on a hotline? It sucks, and
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, right?" But I got the degree, and whatever. Um, I wanted to be in film and television,
Yeah.
and so I found ways to do that. How did I get off on that track?
That's
Um,
okay. Keep on
Oh, oh,
going.
oh, oh, the pressure cooker. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so listen, they didn't teach us this in culinary school. Okay, I went to Johnson and Wales, freshman of the year. I didn't know how to hold a knife when I walked in, so I was super proud, but I hated it. I did 4 years and 3, and I got the hell out, and I started traveling in my Pippi Longstocking lifestyle. And anyway, fast forward to a few years ago, and the discovery that food's not going to get any cheaper. It's not going to get any more abundant, and I need to stock up, which meant I started watching a bunch of like prepper shows and cooking
Right.
shows, and
Yeah.
right, like
Yeah.
how do you do this? What's this thing called canning? And I was scared to death of it. So the pressure cooker is me having a year-long standoff. It's still over there. It's under a blanket. I had a year-long standoff with this pressure canner, and I would move it. I moved it like 5 times. I held it out at arm's length. I'm like, "Hey, look, you just go over here, and I'll go over here." I
I
was
thought they
scared
make
to death.
bombs.
I
Yeah.
was so scared of it. I was like, "No, it's not gonna go right for me," because I've had that experience a lot in my life. I've worked really hard to find this smile.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
yeah, very, very, very hard. And I figured, I always got to a certain point, and then it would fall off the cliff, and I would just be like A for effort,
Yeah.
almost ran,
Yeah.
nice
But
try.
but
And I
those
just
Lonnee Rey,
figured,
like, so I want to dive into that a second because
yeah.
that story, and hang on, put her back up there because that smile is
Yeah.
infectious, right? And you being here saying that, through my life, I've had these trials and it's been hard and I've hit these walls and I've had these really trying times is literally what we here with Soaring Profits are all about. And it's unveiling the stories of champions at the top. And here we are today. You came on with us in the back room before we came on here in the green space, in the green room before we came on here. And you disclosed to us that you are now a best-selling publisher. So you want to talk about trials to triumph? That smile, my dear, is so well earned. And
Thank
maybe,
you.
some of those issues, those problems, those walls, those cliffs that we fall off, you now are in a position where you're shining light on the rest of the room and being able to show other people that are hitting that same cliff, hitting that same, precipice. But it's that smile, that big, beautiful, light up the room smile don't ever lose it, because you're doing amazing things out there, and you're spreading that word. I just wanted to stop
Thank
you with
you.
that. So
Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. It really is. It's a lot of work to claw out of a dark hole, and one of the benefits of the co-authors. Honestly, guys, this started because the words "rattled awake" fell out of my mouth to my
right,
friend,
that's good.
and I said, "There's got to be other people who have just had like a big shakeup." And it could be, like you said, they couldn't go visit their family or whatever. It could be, there. Honestly, read the books. It's a bathroom book. Okay, it's chapter
Right.
by chapter. It's easy to do. Um, uh, but the issues that concern me, that I wanted to use the platform for, I kind of curb that a little bit, because I don't know how much to put out there. I really have a lot that I want to say, but I try to keep it under wraps a little. Like, the food thing really, really, really matters.
Right.
And probably the next topic I'm going to take on is homelessness.
Mm.
Because I've been homeless a number of times, where I
Right.
called behind somebody's sofa my home.
Right.
I was a total drug addict, didn't
Right.
have 2 quarters to ride the bus. I rode my bike in the snow. True
Right.
story.
Yeah.
To go to the food bank.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really, really have seen it a lot. But my concern now is, because life is a lot different, thank God,
Yeah.
um, is that every single state except two, Oregon and Wyoming, consider being homeless. It's illegal. It's illegal. And like, they will. I lost friends here. I know people here, and they're gone, because
Mhm.
Knoxville put into law that they'll arrest them, hold them for 3 days, charge them $3,000, and now I don't know where they are.
What?
Yes,
That
that
is
is
a
happening.
very backwards process. Yeah, that
That
seems
is
that
happening.
seems that seems very odd. Well, first of all, anyway, I want to thank you for sharing that, because again, I think there's, especially in where we are, and I talk a lot about money and business and that sort of thing, and where we are in this financial time. There's a lot of people that are again that they're struggling, and there's such a bravery and strength it takes, like someone like yourself, that you come across, you have this light, the shine that comes off of you, and these successful stories that you're able to show now. But those struggles, they're what made you where you are now. The trial to triumph. And when someone like yourself comes on here and says, "Hey, I've been there. It's hard, but there is always a way up." It's, get on your bike and ride through the snow and put your big girl pants on, and let's work hard together, and we can find a way. I think that is just such a thrilling and a such a positive role model. I see all these comments over here on the far side, and they're
They just
all
love
about
you.
how amazing you are, how successful
Oh,
you've been, and the way that you touch people's lives. Like that,
oh,
that's a beautiful thing.
thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm trying to stay focused on the show. But thank you for pointing that out. Thank you guys for coming.
This
It
is
means a
this
lot.
is your show. Like this whole
Yeah.
process with what we do at Soaring Profits is that we want to tell these stories. And some of them are hard, some of them are easy, some of them we do on a daily basis, and we walk by people and we never take the time. And that's where we here, James and I, we really focus on trying to work with people to tell their story in exactly the same way that you're doing it. We just do it with the video camera, and you're doing it with the written word. And
Yeah.
for us, that's such a powerful experience. When we get someone like yourself that comes on here and really shows that and sheds that light, that's worth $1 million. Like I'm waiting for the big contract maybe, but until then, we get to have a great time on Thursday nights with our people, our
Right on.
hounds, our community that's on YouTube and LinkedIn, and we get to share people like yourself's story, which I love.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
It's
sorry, Mark. We're definitely going to bump you from this episode. You're going to have to stay in the green room because we just love Lonnee so much. Sorry.
That's it.
You just stay right in there. This time we got all the systems in place so you can't break into our show. So you just
That's
stay
it.
where you are.
Yeah.
Mark and
I
Mark,
think I agree with him. I think you're amazing and wonderful. And obviously, all these people have been uplifted by you. We get comment after comment about how great you are and how your smile lights up a room. And I understand, there are times in my past and in your past that wasn't always the case, that the smile was more of, I don't want people to ask me anything. I
Yeah.
don't want them to know that I'm hurting inside. I don't want anyone to know that I'm struggling. I don't want them to know because then I have to tell my story and I can't tell my story. How do you get from someone who like is holding all that inside, just trying to keep it together one more day, to being able to tell your story to the world in such a way that you become a best-selling author? How does that happen? How and is that good? Like, I say it's good. I think it's fantastic. I tell everyone, if you're struggling inside, the best thing for you to do is find that first person to tell your story, because once you start telling your story, that's where the healing starts. That's how I feel. But for you, how did you get from that point of, you know what, I'm going to keep on pushing, trying to make it, and my smile probably isn't as good, till now where it's so genuine that it leaps off the screen?
uh, it was a long, hard road. I couldn't fake it. I can't. How I feels on my face. And I remember one time I finally mustered it up to go to a party, and I tried so hard because I was sick of hearing people say smile. I'm like, tell me a joke, leave me alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard.
Yeah.
And this guy came up to me at a party, and he looked right at me and he goes, "What's wrong? I can see it in your eyes." And I lost it. I was like, fuck, now I got to go home.
Yeah, no, I do know.
Yeah.
I tried
Yeah.
so hard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and there was a lot of conditioning that I had, like as a kid, go to your room or get out of my way. I don't want to look at you right now. And so I learned to cry very quietly and to not come out until I had my smile back.
Right.
Which was really hard in life. Because there was a lot going on that was really pretty bad.
Right.
And I was having a conversation. I want to get this out today. There was a woman who's going to be in volume 5, and we were both agreeing on how irritating it is when you're already down. And I had this literally, I was on the floor in a fetal position, bawling. And I had a couple of people stand over me, and they're like, "You just need to love yourself some more." And I was like, "Don't you think I would if I knew how?"
Right.
How dare you? Like, party foul, super uncool. Like, don't do that.
Absolutely.
How are you going to shame somebody who already feels like shit? Come on. Can we swear on this show? Oops,
100%.
You fucking can shit swear.
Yeah.
Come
Now
on,
we've all
man.
done it.
Stop saying that.
Yeah.
So, it's still a process. I was going to mention earlier, I love my authors so much. And if it weren't for, here's how crazy this shit is. I went roller skating for my birthday. I fell backwards, which I've never done. I have thousands of hours on wheels, thousands. And I fell and I broke my wrist in 2 places. Everything that I used to do is game over.
Wow.
Like literally.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'll be able to tie shoes again someday. Like it's
wow.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's
Life
that about? Well, because of that, Rattled Awake was invented because the authors can be coached to write their stories. And I love doing story development. I love finding their message and going, here's what you're really saying.
Right.
Let's share that.
Cool.
As an interviewer, and you guys would know, you often hear more than what they think they're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? You get it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. Well, then here's the thing. In the course of doing this, one of my co-authors turns out to be an Akashic Records reader. And I was like, I have no interest in the past. I'm still trying to deal with this present. Okay. I don't care what I was before. I don't want to dive into past lives. I don't care.
Right.
She offered this session, and I was a hot mess that day. Oh, I was a mess. I was crying a lot. It's been very hard, this transition to go, from camping and biking and all the stuff I used to do. I got to cut a lemon with my elbow on one and the knife with the other. Fuck, come on. It sucks.
We should just show what you took.
I'm on a turkey.
Just picturing that is gold.
Yeah, it is.
That is gold.
Yeah. My friend was like, you should film yourself doing that stuff.
That's what I'm saying. You should start a cooking show.
Yeah.
I'm on a turkey this time, and I was like, I didn't think it through. And I was like, how am I going to get that thing? How am I going to get out of the oven? I got one hand. I can't. She's like, well, I got an electric knife at the Goodwill the other day, and I was like, I cut a lemon, and I was like, what else can I cut? Surely there's other stuff that I need to cut that I've been avoiding.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this author brings this gift to me, and it turns out to be unbelievable, the session. So I wrote about it in volume 4, the one we just published today.
Right.
It's a powerful story because there's got to be a lot of other people like me that are like, why do I almost get there and then it falls away? What the hell's wrong with me? Because I've had a lot of that, a lot, it fits and starts and almost ran.
Yeah.
And you want to hear it? Like, this is crazy.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll go into it.
You want to hear everything.
Yeah.
When I was little, the truth is that things started out pretty bad when I was little. And when I was 8, I overdosed on a bunch of baby aspirin, and I tried to, and my parents told me to just go back to bed, and they didn't come see how I was. And so a lot of things registered. You don't have value, get out of the way, you're a problem. They didn't know.
Yeah.
So that manifested in a lot of interesting things in life.
Yep.
I'm not blaming my folks. I'm just saying, like, I got started early. By the time I was 14, I had people like, they were observing me. They're like, why do you always look at the ground? You always look so guilty. You're always looking at the ground. What's on the ground? And I said, I don't know. Maybe it's the 5,000 pounds on my shoulders. Probably go ask my mom. I'm sure I did something wrong today.
Yeah.
And he said, you look guilty all the time. Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem there. I'm sure, well, it turns out here, check this out. This was the Akashic reading. And I don't even understand all this. My mother was a psychic. She was a medium, not a large. Okay. But
I love her. She is hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. She was also a hot mess, boy. But anyway, that's a sidebar. Listen. My first book. Wait, I got to show you my first book. Where is it? Life Lessons Learned from a Lousy Mother, and I'm not a mother. Okay, like
right.
It's a 20-minute read, and it's impactful. You don't need a big book to make a difference. Okay, moving right along. The records, whoever she's talking to said, and she knew immediately what you want to know is why is it that you get started and then it shit happens. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I was just trying to celebrate my 60th and now I got a bust up body. It was bad fall. Did all kinds of other damage. Anyway, they said, whoever they are, I don't understand this whole thing.
Right. The spirits that she talks to.
Whatever, reading the records, right? She goes, do you know the story about King Herod? And I said, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, she said you were a Roman soldier for King Herod, and your job was to go out along with the troops and murder all the babies 2 years and younger, because he had, I don't know what his problem was, LDS.
He was trying to kill Jesus.
Little dick syndrome.
Herod was trying to kill Jesus, and he didn't know that Jesus wasn't there. So he ordered them to kill all the babies in hopes that he would get to kill Jesus, who was supposed to be a king.
Yeah. How insecure is that? Right. Okay.
Super.
That's really, really a control freak. And I was one of those Roman soldiers. Here's the thing. They said that I internalized that I could have changed it. I could have stopped it. No wonder I'm such an activist now.
Right.
And all about freedom and stuff. And especially around the kids thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It is interesting. Yes. Yeah. But what happened was I fell on my sword. I took my own life out of the guilt that I felt for what I had the task I carried out.
Right.
And the records, whatever the beings, I don't know how it goes. They said that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, I carried that guilt with me, and I punished myself over and over and over again. Wow. And I wrote about this in my chapter this time because I want other people to know, if you're walking around, if you have had that, when's it going to be my turn? Why does it always just almost happen and then it doesn't? Why do things go south? What the fuck? Like, if you really feel that way, like, I get it. Yeah. And it was a self-punishment thing over and over and over and over, because I felt like I could have stopped it. And they said, we want you to know you couldn't have. Here's the catcher. It was preordained. And I have this notion, after having had my natal chart read, and they said, ma'am, we just want to see, we see here on your birth chart that you were 3 when your parents got divorced. Is that right? And I said, yeah, it's right. Wait. Let's do the math on that for a second. You see on my chart that I was 3 when my parents got divorced. So is it all already done? Is it all already done? Because that's
Right.
really trippy, don't you think? My
Yeah, that's
parents.
going back 57 years to look back
Yeah.
in time and a specific incident.
It
That's what
does
I mean.
affect you.
Yeah.
I have been at that point where I've tried to get things started, and we get like even Soaring Profits itself. We've had a couple of wonderful opportunities that we've got into the goal line, and then we've tripped, and then goal line doesn't happen.
Right.
And I choose to take them and turn them into a positive light and look back and go, okay, well, yeah, this sucks. So the first thing I always do is I sit in it. I feel the feelings. I understand the feelings, and I allow myself to grieve the loss, because there's always a loss in all the mistakes you make. But
Yeah.
then I look back and I go, okay, what were the great things that happened? Always start with the great things, and I list those. And then I go, what were the mistakes that were made? And what can I do to change them? And then I change it into a thing. And each time Pat and I like regroup, we talk about it. I don't know if Pat knows he's doing it with me, but we're doing it.
This
And then
just
we're like,
in.
and then the next time we start with a new project, I bring up that stuff. And I'm like, we have to remember this. We have to do that. I just think it's important that we have that frame of mind. It is so easy to tailspin into a negative self-talk. And I think that everyone should remember that, you can really, and I did for many years, I felt I was cursed. I was convinced there was a Stephen curse. My family had it, and it didn't matter what I tried. The curse would get me. Happened all the time. And it was very tough to get to. I want to continue talking with you, Lonnee, learn more about the other side and stuff like that, and some next steps. You're just such a fantastic person, and it's very interesting, but we have some people to thank, and I'd like to take this opportunity. Soaring Profits would like to thank our profiteers, like Sia from Brilliant Beam Media. If you need a producer, she is the best one out there. Raquel Flores from Connection Corner. Check out her every Saturday when she has a new extraordinary guest. Michael Asherbrainer from the Hounds of Business, a LinkedIn guru. If you have a business on LinkedIn, he can guide your way. Lisa Browning from 1000 Trees, an expert publisher. If you want to write a book, scan that code. Chris from Walking Tall, sharing stories surrounding mental health and helping to end the stigma. #WalkTall. Mike from Purple Tongue Hot Sauce. If you have a meat, he has a sauce for that. Janice from Tosi, bringing comfort to the world one amazing pillow at a time. Scan that code and buy comfort. The Mood Disorder Society of Canada, leading Canada to promote a better way to deal with mental health. So
Nailed
we
it.
should probably take this time to make a little fun announcement. Some exciting things that are coming up with the Soaring Profit Boys. We have a lot of exciting things. Obviously, I have a new setup, trying to be more comforting and more counsel-like, I guess. Some of the authors that have been on our show, showcasing them. But Pat, what is coming up next week? In fact, we started it today on a little kind of thing. What's next week?
I don't know. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Relax.
Hints.
Well, you folks out there you've probably seen already today. We did a little bit of a promo and a little hint in regards to something that we're working on. But we're focusing on this new project with Miss Jana Shokran and the Tosi brand. And what we're doing right now is we're kind of marrying that with the market.live. So that's something that you folks can go on any time. Go to market.live, check it out. It is like an online shopping platform. It is hosted by HSN, the Home Shopping Network, here in Canada for our Canucks of the north of the border that aren't trying to bomb the border. We're not sure what that is yet, but we'll figure that out for you. But for those of you up here, it's the shopping channel, TSC. So what we've done is we've kind of partnered in this. We're going to be doing some hosting and doing some live stuff with them. And please check it out, market.live. We're going to be looking at different brands, how to bring in different products, different services, and being able to showcase that. And another thing that's really exciting for us, this week, we just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. We are currently almost 1,100 subscribers on our channel. And I want to thank you folks. It's you guys, when you guys tune in, you check us out, you stick around. I don't know what the hell you see in us, but for some reason, you guys have clicked that like, that subscribe, and you're allowing us to tell these amazing stories of people like Lonnee Rey, people that are going out and doing amazing things. And Lonnee, again, I'm sorry we kind of cut you off there, but your story, when we talk to people like yourself, we get to do it through, like I said earlier, through the video, but you do it through the written word. And we've thrown up here this QR code over in the corner. And what is this taking us to? This is taking us to your book, Rattled Awake.
Oh no, actually, that is okay. So one of the things I love to do is give sort of direction, like on marketing messages.
Love it.
And so yeah, and a third party always sees more than we see for ourselves. And so it's called Third Party Insights.
Cool.
And yeah, and then just because it was easy, when I got the domain official Rattled Awake, I just make it redirect to a page over on Third Party Insights. But there you'll see some of the things that I can do to, I had this pretty cool service where I'm basically on speed dial. And if you know, for 15-minute laser focus calls,
Yep.
Are you surprised? Like, zip line to the finish line, like that's this. Okay. It's just to sanctify it all. And really quick, no long meetings. I can, I'm kind of intuitive too, and pick up stuff that, maybe can be helpful to someone that they never considered, bringing options to the table. So
Yep.
that's what that is.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to do more of it. It's really fun.
Right.
That's great. So I love that you're telling people stories and that you're gathering stories. And you're right. We went back. You were talking about, I wanted to start writing books. I wanted to be a publisher. And you said, I looked for the people that were doing it well. Pat and I were just talking about this yesterday and today. We were talking about other businesses that we know and just saying, you need to read the books. You need to watch the movies. Like I myself, I do a bit of motivation, do a little bit of life coaching for people. I try to help people out, but I do that for me, I have a counselor that helps me work through my own bullshit because I have a lot of it. I also watch the people that are doing it right already, because it's easier to see what people are doing and learn from them. So what kind of things? So you mentioned the chicken soup for the soul, I think is what it's called, was one of, I guess, your mentors, where you got to see, the pitfalls, the good things. So what things did you take from these mentors, and who were the mentors?
Probably one of the most. God, I keep messing up my hair.
You look beautiful. Don't even worry.
Country. Very Tennessee. All of a sudden, it comes out. So what I want to say something about that. Probably the most significant thing that Mark, it would surprise me, because we all thought about, chicken soup soul is just, warm and fuzzy and it's all good. And I was shocked. Of course, I was wearing rose-colored glasses most of my life. And when you wear rose-colored glasses, you miss the red flags.
Sure. Yes.
And so I was that person. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be liked. I would accept anybody. Right. Honestly, it was like that. Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to be accepted too. What I learned though from on the periphery with Mark was that not everybody's in your corner. And I didn't know that. And I thought, he ended up dubbing me the brand mother of self-marketing. And this is before we got very close, and I did voiceover work and became sort of a marketing advisor. A lot of things came out of this. But at first it started with, he said we would come home from the road, him and Jack, and they'd have bags and bags and bags of mail. And he said it wasn't always good, and I was surprised. What do you mean it's not always good? You're doing a great thing. These are stories, and whatever, right? No, you don't understand. There's a lot of people who don't like this, and so I would hand make these cards out of hot pink poster board, like from
Right.
Dollar Tree, and whether they were postcards, and I'd make them oversized. I'm just a promo hoe. I told you that, right? I love to do. I had an ad specialties company for 10 years. Logos on stuff, nothing average ever. We always did shit that's really out there.
Yeah.
Done a lot of things. Anyway, he said I would look in these bags because I would look for the hot pink card because I knew it was from you,
Yeah.
and I knew it would be good and positive. And believe me, we needed it. And I
Right,
was like, what?
Wow.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really shocking because I have only heard great things about any of the Chicken Soup books. I read a lot of them. I gave them to my kids. It was thought provoking. It led to great discussions. It was wonderful to poop with. It was just the best book. I
Wonderful.
really enjoyed
Bathroom
it. So
book.
it's shocking
Yep.
that, like, what would be the negative to that?
At first, it was, and it might have been ended up being the majority. They were the first guys to take other people's stories to do anthologies.
Oh, okay.
The first,
Right.
and in a big way, that is. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
So there were people that were very upset that they thought they were stealing other people's material, and they felt that they had the
Oh.
freedom. They should just, mouth
Yeah.
off. And
Great.
I mean, back then we wrote letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
was
is
mail.
before a dislike button and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
You had to
So they
really
were-
be
they
mad
were
at
more
somebody to
just-
get out the typewriter and sit down and, maybe scrape the hand and write in blood, or like get out the magazine letters all chopped apart and be like, you stole my story, asshole. Right? Like, that's a whole new level. That is.
What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm making a vision board.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of people that were upset with them. And then there's the other part, which really shocked me. And that's because I was green, right? I'm in my mid to late 20s, early 30s when I met him.
Yeah.
And I didn't have worldly experience, so I didn't know that everybody carried an agenda.
Sure.
And that's why we developed such a strong rapport, because I wasn't in on all of that. And I was just straight shooter, and he trusted my opinion and insights.
Yeah.
And so he said, I know you don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
And everybody does, and they're all kissing my ass. And I don't know who to ask anything. I could tell them I want to paint the town purple, and they'd be like, great idea.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and I learned this too. It's true. He said, it's lonely at the top. I hate to sound trite, but it's lonely at the top. And I was like, but aren't you mixing and mingling? I call them all the usual suspects, because I had them all on my talk show. The speakers, motivational speakers.
Right.
And he says, yeah, but it's not necessarily ideal company. I remember hanging out with a couple of them, and they were fantastic on stage.
Right.
But it was like dating, schlep rock later. I mean, this guy was, oh man, he's entertaining. I will not say his name. He's a wonderful guy on stage. But you go outside and the cloud comes down, and he's like, Eeyore. And I was just like, damn, you're depressing. I can't hang out with you.
Yeah.
And then another time I dated a comedian, and that was a nightmare. Oh my God. You know why? You'll appreciate this, James. Because he's always working on his thing. He's always processing his act. And we'd be in it. We'd be hot up in it. And he'd go, and he'd run over to the mirror. And I was like, what are you doing? He says, I want to see what I look like when I feel like this, so I can so I can do it again on stage.
Yeah.
And then they're really, because comedians, your whole life is a show. They're gonna use it on stage. And it was just like, I can't do this. So
Crazy.
No. Wow. But as far as publishing goes and telling stories, what really matters is that people get clear on their message. And I learned that from someone else in the business. I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due. Steve Kidd taught me a lot, and he gave me a chance. And that was 5 years ago.
Very
and and he allowed me to, to do some editing. And then I I have learned a lot about people through all of this. And some of it isn't so good. And I know that I
Yeah.
haven't gained favor with a lot of, some people either.
Yeah.
You know what really bothers me is that when people haven't you're laughing already, Patrick. Like, what could it possibly be? You already seem disturbed.
No, I love
No, I'm
I
just
love
really
the way
loving
that
it.
you bring authenticity to all of this.
Yeah.
Because so there's so much, like, we interview people every day, right? We interview people all over. We're doing products, we're talking with different services. We talk with people all day long. That's what we do, right? So when we have somebody that comes on here, you're not giving me, the PC product line, here's what I need to get my messaging across. And
No.
we value that because it's authentic. That's genuine. There's so much out here that we look around in the social media world that we live in right now that is just total bullshit.
I
And
know.
it's fantastic when we see someone like yourself. You might be eccentric at times with your delivery, but you drive that. But you drive that, and you can pull that out, and you can reinvest that into the people that you're working with. And that, to me, I find that energizing. Like, I'm sitting here, we're almost an hour, and I'm kind of like, where the hell did the time go?
Yeah.
Because you're the type of person that can drive that energy, and that's infectious.
Thank you. That's such a big compliment. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
The whole social media thing is really disappointing. Look, I've been the lone wolf writer over in the corner for a while.
Right.
And
Mhm.
when I broke my wrist, I had to come out. I had to do something else.
Yeah.
I still have a 83-year-old man. He's my memoir client. He's just sitting over there in the corner going, "It's okay. I understand what it's like to essentially lose a limb."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, bless his heart.
Yeah.
And if the universe looks out for us, I'm divinely guided, connected, and protected. That's my favorite mantra. And it always works out. It's always worked out.
Yeah.
And somehow it's always worked out for all of us. We're all still fog in a mirror. I mean, come on, it works out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway,
No, I think you're absolutely right, Lonnee Rey. I think Pat's right. We could talk to you all night about all this stuff and all the motivational stuff that you do, and your deep dive into the people you've met and your mentors and how you've turned a negative into a positive. I think you've lived a tough life, but you've lived a beautiful life because you've taken all those deep, dark lessons and you've turned them into empowering moments for other people, where you get to share other people's stories, help them rise above. Because of the darkness that you've seen, you're able to reflect and show light into the people that maybe have their own darkness, but you can guide them out. I always say that, when we walk through darkness and we get to the other side of the light, the people that reach back into the darkness, that they're terrified, so they can reach back and grab someone else and pull them out along with them, are the people that are champions. And tonight, I think we really did unveil another champion. Lonnee Rey, I love what you're doing.